Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here at the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing my build of the Estes Optima Pro, and it is time to continue the finishing process. I've got some water. I'm going to be applying this big old waterslide decal, which just barely fits. That's great. I was not convinced it would, honestly, and that's going to be going on the upper portion of our rocket here, which is pretty big, so it doesn't quite fit in frame. Alright, so this is going to go here-ish, just kind of centered in the middle, one would hope. I have a paper towel to blot. There are some other little decals that, they're just like Estes logos. I don't really see the point, honestly, in attaching them. I mean, you're certainly welcome to, but I think I'm going to pass. Doesn't really feel like something that I care that much about. Alright, so that's hopefully enough time for this to have loosened up a little bit. You still want it to be a little sticky, but like this. It's not freely sliding, but it's also not stuck either. So I'm just going to kind of center this in the middle of the space that I have left between the shiny decals and the end of this part of the tube. And I'm just going to slowly pull the decal backing off. Ideally, this was on pretty straight when I put it on, and everything should just kind of fall into place. I'm going to get my fingers a little wet here because it definitely didn't just fall nicely into place. It is a little crinkled here and there. And I think part of the reason is that the my spray paint coat isn't as clean and smooth as it could possibly be. I mean, it's not bad, but it's also not great. It feels like some of this folded over on itself a little bit down here. So I'm going to try to make sure that, oops, I'm going to try to tear the decal. That's great. Fortunately, it didn't tear in a particularly noticeable spot, but let that be a lesson to us all. These things are very thin, and it doesn't take much. Alright, I'm going to use my paper towel here, and I'm just going to smooth and dry. So I'm going to push any bubbles that are in there out to the edges. So it lays pretty flat. Like I said, this part right in here, yeah, it's a little bubbled under. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and see if I can't. I'm not sure if it's, yeah, there we go. It looked like it was it's definitely folded on itself, but I can't really tell if it's folded over the top or over the bottom. What I ended up doing there was just slicing the little bit that I think is folded off. And I think I'm going to go this way as well. This is definitely not something I would typically do, but I have a little bit of that. The material is extra. I don't really need it, and I'd rather it lie flat than be folded over on itself. Alright, so yeah, I'm pleased with this. So this is basically done. I can take that downstairs and clear coat that whole thing now. The water I'm done with. And now it's time to work on the bottom part. Let's grab that. There we go. This is the bottom. I spray painted it black. It's all black, so that was at least pretty easy to deal with. There weren't any things that I needed to mask off. There were some runs in it, which I'm not particularly pleased with, but because of its color, it's black, it's pretty hard to see where they are. Go light. I ended up, this probably should have been at least 2 coats, and I did it in 1, and that's generally where the problems start, so take your time. Alright, so anyway, what needs to get done with this? Well, I should point out too that I drilled the holes for my rail buttons here and here. They're ready to go, but I'm not going to put the rail buttons in yet until I've clear coated this. Mostly because I don't want them all gunked up. There are lots of things actually that have to happen after the clear coating, so no harm, no foul there. Now, the remaining work that needs to be done is to apply the remaining decals. And yeah, this should prove to be somewhat interesting. So, as far as I can tell, the remaining sheets are exactly the same as what I used on the top part. They're not cut in any way, it's just a big purple or a big silvery expanse. And they're going to end up wrapping around like this. Right? So I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to apply them like this and then trim the excess. I think that's probably the best approach to this. Again, I'm going with the alternate paint scheme, which I might as well show you here. So this is from the box. Here's the alternate paint scheme. So I'm looking at the bottom down here, and the silvery bit is going to go near the wingtip, and then the purpley bit is going to go interior to that. So that's what I'm looking to reproduce here. Alright. And again, I don't think it makes any sense to try to trim these ahead of time. I think this is a trim it after the fact kind of approach. So, I'm sure you'll be able to see with the rocket oriented this way, so let's try to prop it up, at least for this first one. So, I'm going to try to eyeball these so that it is going on more or less one width of this thing from the tip. And then, let's just try wrapping it around. If I did this right, like that, the two bits ought to match up at the end. Then I can break out my scissors, and I can snip, and I'm probably going to need to do a better job than just folding this over, but that'll tide me over for now. Same deal with this purple bit. I'm going to start on the other face. And this, the picture shows there's a little bit of a gap in between these. You could do that, or you could have them right next to each other. You know, it's just, whoops, it's going to be personal preference. I think I'm going to shoot for the gap, a little bit of a gap. Like, no, that's no good. It was not on straight. There we go. It might be significantly easier to actually have them touching. That way you don't have to worry about getting a uniform gap. You know, you can line it up. I'm just gonna peel this the whole way off. So you could line it up. Alright, so that up here on the front, this one wasn't a problem because this line is so, the distance is pretty small, but this ended up not fitting as flat as I would like it, but I think I can smooth that out without it being ugly. The back, of course, again, I do need to trim this off. And there we go. Now, depending on how well this goes, I might just be happy with the scissors, but I mean my scissors, I can probably trim it a little closer than that. My scissors aren't going to be able to get in as closely as a knife. So you might consider breaking out your hobby knife to trim things up. And I do have a fairly noticeable bubble in here that I didn't see until I held it into the light. So I'm going to try to smooth that out. Fortunately, It is responding pretty well as I push it. There's just one little spot here that doesn't want to play nice, but it's not too noticeable. All right, so that's the process. I guess I'll do one more. And I think you really ought to, I would recommend that you start on the side that I'm starting on. So you're starting at the receding end. Come on now. There we go. Start at the receding end and wrap it around the leading end rather than the other way around. And the reason for that is the leading end is straighter. Like if you wrapped it around this end, it would not there we go. It wouldn't line up like this very well. So I'm definitely, when I'm done with this, probably after the video stops rolling, I am going to take a look at this, and I might, well, I could trim it from this side. This side's going to be a little bit easier for me to trim closely. But yeah, this might end up being something that I break out the knife and go about trimming it up with my hobby knife instead of just relying on the scissors. I like scissors. I like them better than using the hobby knife more often than not, but the downside of the scissors is that they do have width, more width than the hobby knife does. Okay. Let's see how we did. Oops. Try not to do that. Yeah, again, this one, because of the way that the fin is designed, that one doesn't line up quite as well, and I might end up doing something about that too. Alright, I can actually see the bubbles this time because I'm looking for them this time. So I'm going to try to get rid of them right now. And then a couple on this side too. There we go. And not bad. Alright, in for a penny, in for a pound. Might as well put the last one on since, why not? So there are 2 extra sheets of this. I'm not entirely sure where that other one is supposed to go. I don't see a spot. I don't see a spot in the pictures that would show me what that extra one is for. So maybe it's just in case you messed up. I don't know. Or you could find a spot for it, I guess. Gross snip, and then we'll come over this side and do the cleaner one. There we go. And one more purple. I should mention too that as I'm wrapping this up, I'm going to take this and clear coat it next. I don't know how the clear coat is going to look on the decals. I don't know what that's going to do to them. I am rather leery of it, to be honest. But I think it needs to be done. So, and the instructions say to do it. And while honestly, like the whole point of these videos to some extent is I'm not following the instructions. I would be leery of not clear coating this. That one didn't land quite as smoothly. Okay, well, so this one I might end up trimming the front too. That would definitely need to be done with a hobby knife. I would not want to do that with the scissors. Right. We can take a look at that now, I suppose. So there is a little bit of a bubble. I'm going to try to smooth that out first. And then I should just be able to shave just like that. And that's going to cut through the whole way, so you're not going to have the wrapper. But I don't think that's really a problem. If you really care, I mean, I do have plenty of excess here. You know, I could put a little wrapper, just a really thin one, right around the lead edge here. I could do that. Just do that. So I'm just going to trim like a 1/4 of an inch maybe of this off. And just get it centered. There we go. And smooth it down. There we go. That's nice. I might actually do that on all these edges, so it's just a nice smooth transition. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. All right, well, I'm gonna do that off camera. No sense in watching that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in what is hopefully the ultimate installation of or installment of this video where I wrap things up. Thanks for watching. See you then.